I come to points in my work where it's done, and then I have to start thinking about the next thing. And I'm not that European master where you paint forever and ever until you master it. I don't have time for that.
I've known Ruth for a really long time. I consider Ruth actually a mentor. She's been a really great support to me throughout my life, even as a friend. So I was really, really touched that she would allow me to curate her retrospective, because she could have done it with anyone, anywhere. For myself as a curator, I'm really interested in more of a collaborative style, kind of getting rid of those hierarchies between artist and curator. And how we did that and how we approached that was always through story, which is kind of like a Cree-centered way of talking about things, gaining knowledge, disseminating information to the public. So it's not just a retrospective, it's almost a bit experimental in that, you'll see a traditional story that was gifted to me by my grandfather. And so it really informs the idea of disease and epidemics, but really from an Indigenous Cree point of view. And then in the video installation that Ruth does, she's actually, orally telling a story that informs the work that's in the installation. So there's a bed and some beads, and there's some paintings that relate to that. And so everything kind of has conversations with each other. Ruth comes from a family of storytellers. It's not just her, it was her father, her brother, her son. And so how I view it is Indigenous artists are natural storytellers, and their work are embodied stories within the medium. And in our belief system, stories are actually animate beings. The artwork as a medium can be an animate being. And so when you think of that, even like beads in the blood, beads are an animate being, and they're also an animate story moving within your blood, right? So it has all those kind of little connotations. You're gonna see when you come into the show this really blue backdrop that goes really high up. And for me, that was to emulate the sky. And so the shirts are actually in the sky, and each one of those shirts has a story, that's placed within the cosmos, right? Things that touches me the most is the Brain Scan series, because she's actually highlighting mental health in our Indigenous communities. I won't speak for all communities, but I remember as a young girl and as a teenager how mental health was kind of something you didn't talk about. It was a bit taboo, I think.
My name is Ruth Cuthand, and I'm a member of Little Pine Band, which is situated by North Battleford, Saskatchewan. And I am a practicing artist. Usually what I do is it just rolls around in the back of my head, and then every once in a while something will come forward and I'll think about that. Then once I get the basic idea of what I want to do, then I have to figure out how I'm going to do it. And because I'm an artist, I can use any kind of medium. So I was thinking of photographers who went around at the end of the 19th century and were taking photographs of the vanishing Indian, and so they would give them props to use. And so the prop for the Indian portraits is actually, it's a birthday thing for kids. It's got little chicken feathers and it says Big Chief on it. I gave that to Indigenous people and they could use it however they wanted. I took their photograph with a Polaroid. I love Polaroids, and I love photocopying, and I love frosted mylar. So I put all the things I love together. What I really liked about it was connecting with the people and photographing them. Living Post-Oka Kind of Woman was a series of drawings that came out of that summer of 1990. It's about the pines, and it's about a small Quebec town trying to expand the golf course. And what they were going to take over was what was called the Pines by the Mohawk people. The Pines was a traditional place that the people came to. They would camp overnight and then they would go into the town and trade get their goods, whatever, and then go home. And there were also people who were buried there, Mohawk people who were buried there. So they did not want the pines taken over. So it started this whole confrontation with Mohawk warriors. Men from different places across North America came to stand with them. The Mohawk women were the ones that were in charge of it, and so they were the ones that talked to the media and talked to the government. And so what I wanted to do with the drawings was to record different things, different events that happened during that standoff. For me, it's really a historical rendering of what happened. Rupert the bear is actually, he is a prototype for a new series that I'm starting. There is this whole movement among Indigenous people across Canada to take adolescents and young adults and take them and teach them the way we used to live, which is not that far back for me. It's like how to snare a rabbit, how to gut a fish, how to, make birch bark baskets, all that kind of stuff. Again, it goes back to my work with community, things held by human hands, like human hands working the hides. And I also wanted to talk about colonization, because when I say I was colonized by the British, people are like, what do you mean? And I read a lot of British literature when I was a child. As a child, I was kind of drawn to books that were about animals rather than people. So Rupert is one character that I remember, and then he had his best friend, Bill Badger, who apparently was upper class. So Rupert has a class system all through it. So I'm kind of using him as a stand-in for like the British Empire and colonization around the world. One day I got some beads from the United States. It was February, it was about -38 outside. And in February when the sun comes through the window, and I was laying out these hanks of beads on the floor, and I was looking at them, and the sun's hitting them, and you can see they're so shiny and the color is so deep. And I was like, whoa, when Indigenous women saw beads, they must have just been blown away. And then that started me thinking about other trade items that came, like the iron pot, which gave more food security because you could actually boil water, the knife and the gun, and then that started going down, like guns and liquor and the diseases, and we were wiped out. And so I was going through what were these diseases? Then I just started looking up microscopic views of these diseases. And what I found was these beautifully colored, abstracted things. And those just, oh, the painter in me went, oh, the beater in me went, yes. And so I started beading them, and I was kind of worried because they're really beautiful. They're really beautiful things. And I was thinking, I don't make beautiful art. What's wrong? What's going on here? And so I decided I needed to make another layer onto the trading series. So I used a stencil across the bottom to name the disease. And because it was a stencil that you use for shipping or whatever, then it would give that idea of being moved from the old world to the new world. And I thought it would also kind of cut the beauty of it because it's so something we see every day.